Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by the voice of all combat sports, the legend Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
Good. You know, I wasn't even sure if I'd bring this up, but real quick, the most important thing in our lives is our family. And, you know, it's great being a grandfather, and it's got its other sides, just like being a parent. And some of those sides got touched this past weekend, where my daughter and her husband, the kids, they went down to D.C. to visit the museums with the kids for a few days, which they got great museums down there, Ken. So they were down there having a nice time. And then the next day, I was, in the morning early, I was at physical therapy in Manhattan, and I get ready to do the icing, and I see a text. And it starts off with the words that you dread as a grandparent. He's okay. I don't want you worried, but he's okay. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like you don't want to read the rest of it. And
Yep.
But little Joseph, I call him Saint Joseph. he's the kindest kid, biggest heart of all my grandchildren. Teddy, Mara, they all are. But he was taking a shower, and he tripped over the step in the hotel, and he fell, and he knocked his tooth out, and got a stitch in his lip. They took him to the emergency room. Thank God he's okay. Thank God. You know, Sam, thank God. It could have been worse. And I pray all the time, thank you for looking out for him. And I pray it before things all the time, and then I say thank you for making sure it wasn't worse. And then, if that wasn't, you talk about, when it rains and pours, that wasn't enough. The next day they leave D.C., they go down to LBI to my son-in-law's brother's place for a few days down on the shore. And they go down there, and our little granddaughter, the youngest, 1 year old, Adeline, beautiful little thing, she, you don't know what's going on with a kid. They can't tell you. So they take her out of her nap, they put her in the pool, and suddenly she goes limp. And she's unconscious.
Oh my
Breathing,
God.
thank God. Breathing, thank God. Thank God. I'm just so thankful. I guess I'm sharing it because there's parents out there, and there's just how grateful we have to be, really, every day. We get hateful sometimes, we get angry, we let small stuff get in our way. We get vindictive sometimes, we get caught up in all the elements that are out there in life as a human being to get caught up in. All the frailties, all the weaknesses that we all have. We got to remember our strengths. We got to remember our blessings. If we have, how blessed we are to have healthy children, grandchildren, family members, our own health. Anyway, they rushed her to the hospital. It turns out she had a seizure, but thank God, not related to like
Epilepsy.
anything epilepsy. Just, one of those things where, again, unbeknownst, they didn't know, she had a ear infection, she had a fever, and the body is a miracle. Nature is amazing. So the body shut down to protect the baby because it was becoming too much. It was a lot between the ear infection, the fever. So the body shut down to let the system rest. And it shut down at that moment. And of course, everyone is, you could imagine the panic and the fear. So they kept her there for about 8 hours in the emergency room, monitoring her, making sure it didn't come back, making sure it was what they thought. And then they gave an antibiotic, And thank God she's on the road to recovery because, it's taking care of the ear infection. And 24 hours was the key period. So we went down there yesterday. 24 hours. I'll tell you one thing. I know it's my daughter, but what a mother and a father, her husband. And to have family around, it's a blessing. It really is. And so the 24 hours was the time period that the doctor said you have to get past to make sure that she don't have another seizure. If she doesn't have another seizure, then it's not connected to anything with epilepsy. It's not epileptic. It's just what it was. One of those things that happened. And so she got past the 24 hours and, everything was okay. And, we were just so thankful. I just wanted to say that, how thankful I am to have family and to have healthy family. And just a reminder again that you just don't know day to day how the world will turn, good and bad. And you just don't know. And so I think it's our responsibility to try to live every day, as good as we can and as open-minded as we can for everything, for all people, because at the end of the day, there's so many things that can happen, so many things that we just need to be grateful for what we have and not ever look at somebody and say, oh, you're resentful of what they have, what you don't have, because you don't know what somebody else is going through. You have no clue. If you just have the simple, basic things that I'm talking about, we all aspire to have more. We should. But if we have the basic things that God has given us, health and, the ability to go forward and to work and to care about others. And if we have that, we have something. Some people don't even have that. So anyway, it was just, we got past that. Very, very thankful. And then on a really funny note, I got to tell you a story about my granddaughter, Mara. She's 4 years old and going on, 40. And she is the smartest whip. They all are very blessed. But this one, her own, walks to the beat of her own drum. She's at that age. So last week, or maybe it was a week and a half, whenever I'm out, I pick up stuff for them. So this particular day, I saw a couple little items. I saw a little ladybug, so I grabbed that for her. She likes ladybugs. Good luck. I saw a little leprechaun with a pot of gold. I got that for Joseph. I got something for little Teddy. I haven't seen him yet, so I got that for him. Because whenever there's a rainbow, I ask him, are you gonna go look for the leprechaun so you could get the pot of gold? And little Teddy too, they're looking. They said that they didn't find him yet. And then I got a little thing of fairy dust, because there was a little fairy and a little container of fairy dust for my daughter to replace the one she had when she was about 9-10 years old. When she was at the fight, when I had Michael Moore fight Holyfield, she came into my room before I left for the fight, and she sprinkled it on me and said everything will be good. And she sprinkled the fairy dust. She was right. Everything became good. It worked. So I saw it, and I bought it for her. So my granddaughter, when I give it to them all, my granddaughter wants the fairy dust. So said, okay, she takes the fairy dust, opens up the fairy, and she says, how does it work, Papa? I said, well, you sprinkle on. She goes, sprinkle some on me. So I sprinkle some on her, throw a little fairy dust on top of her. She says, she takes the fairy and starts talking to it. And she says to the fairy, she's got this thing about being a mermaid. She loves Ariel. She says, fairy godmother, can you make me into a mermaid? And so she says her wish, and then she waits a little while. She said, Papa, it didn't work. I'm not a mermaid. My legs are still, my legs didn't turn. So I said, well, you got to give it time. You got to give it, you got to give it a little bit of time. It doesn't happen overnight. So she said, okay. That night, she's home, and my daughter calls me and says, this little thing is sitting in the bedroom, and I hear her in the other room saying, Fairy Godmother, please turn me into a mermaid. And then when she got up the next day, she said, Mom, my legs are still the same. I didn't turn into a mermaid. I got to talk to Papa about that fairy dust. In other words, I might have got a bad batch.
Did you get it on Canal Street?
No, I got it somewhere else. You get the WBA, IBF, and WBO and WBC title belts over there, but no, they don't have fairy dust. So she asked me for the explanation, and I said, I gotta confess, hon, I talked to the fairy godmother. Well, what did you say to her? I asked her not to turn you into a mermaid. But why, Papa? Because I just don't want you to go in the ocean and then I don't get to see you. And I didn't want to not see you. I was afraid if you went into the ocean, you might not come back for a little while. So I, well, call her up and tell her that to turn me into one. Okay, Papa? Because I'll come back. I won't stay away long. So anyway, I thought those things, just the purity of children, the innocence of children. Now people maybe understand why a lot of times people will say Teddy's good with kids and old people. The people in between, Ken, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. Sam's laughing, but total.
That's fair.
Complete disclosure, as I often say. But we had some very interesting fights this weekend, and of course, I'll let you get into it. But what everybody was waiting for was to see if the guy that looked like a prodigy, Vergil Ortiz, 21-0, 21 knockouts, fighting for a title with Bohachuk, to see whether or not he'd be tested. And to see if he would finally be tested and finally taken, the distance, which he's never been a distance. He's got all knockouts, obviously. I think we got answers. I think this show is going to be about those answers. They won't be all the ones you think they're going to be, people, for me. But I think some people think that his stock dropped. Some people think that he got a gift. Some people will think that he's not what he was cranked up to be. All of that. But I'm going to unravel, and we're going to unravel what it really is, or what I believe it really to be. And I'll start, and then give it to you. I'll start by saying, yeah, we did get to pick up the hood of the car and see the engine, see what's inside. Not just the glorious body of the car, the magnificent shine, the magnificent hubs and wheels, and everything else that we already had seen. But we got to see, which is what we're always looking to see, what's inside. And I'll just tweak it a little bit by saying he's got what it takes inside. No matter what else you think, no matter what else you walk away with this, he's showed inside he's more than just a good puncher, more than just a good body puncher, more than just a hurricane that gets unleashed on people and catches people before they can get themselves together. He showed he's got the makings of a champion. The makings. Not just the talent, but the gizzards, the insides. Because that's what the old timers would always say to me, especially because if a guy gets off the floor to win, he's got the gizzards to be a world champion. And he showed that. No matter what else, you want to knock him, you want to say, I don't care. I don't care. Because that's what I saw and what my experience has taught me. So taking it from there, Ken, really a good fight, a really good fight. Interesting as hell, intriguing as hell. But again, a chance to really look past all the glitz and see what is there. And we did get to see that.
Yeah, let's start with the undercard candidate for Knockout of the Year. But one quick thing about what you were talking about earlier about thank God that the kids are okay. And sometimes things like that put life into perspective. I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Neve Schulman, who was the host of the MTV show Catfish. He's an avid runner. He FaceTimed with me last week one morning, and when he comes on the screen, he's in a neck brace and his face is all banged up and he's in really bad shape. Apparently, he got a car stopped short in front of him on his electric bike on Long Island, and he went right into the back of the car, broke his neck. He's not paralyzed, thank God. But all I could think was, oh my God, think about how quickly this can all change. And he's a big runner. He's been on Dancing with the Stars. He's just a really nice kid from New York. And
best of luck to him.
Okay,
thank God he's okay.
Yep.
I'm going to take it on myself to say for all the fans, all the good people out there that watch this show and care about other people, everyone's wishing them a quick recovery, get well, do your rehab. Of course, you're gonna have rehab to do. Yep. Go and do that, and you'll be fine. But thank God that wasn't worse.
Yep, exactly, and makes you appreciate what you have. So, if you're out there moving around today, thank God for what you have. There's always opportunities to get better, and things could be worse. All right, let's get into the Angelo Leo with candidate for Knockout of the Year. 10th round shocking upset over Luis Alberto Lopez. Lopez was ahead 86-85 on the scorecards. Leo was up 86-85 on the other two. Lopez riding a 13-fight win streak. So razor close fight coming into the 10th. And Angelo Leo hit him with a hook that, again, puts things into perspective. And you're just so happy that that Lopez was okay, because that was a vicious, scary knockout. He went to the hospital for observation, laid out flat on his back, unconscious. Candidate for Knockout of the Year and a huge upset. Leo was a 350, plus 350 underdog coming into the fight. How'd you like it?
Down the stretch, sloppy. Contested fight, grinding, grueling, competitive fight. That did get sloppy down the stretch with a lot of falling, a lot of grabbing, a lot of back and forth, changing of the tides, which is always good to have a competitive fight. But at the end of the day, Lopez, well, I should say the challenger, Leo, his form was a little better. He was the only guy really throwing straight punches. He was using the jab. He could go outside. He could go inside. He was pressing the issue in spots. Of course, Lopez was too. Lopez was more of the guy looking for the biggest shots. But it's amazing for me to see Lopez have as much success as he's had with just quite frankly, the poor technical habits that he also has. I know he's got the intangibles, heart and power and things you can't teach, like power and finding ways to land when he has to. He's also got his signature punch, the uppercut, which is a big part of his game. But he breaks one of the cardinal rules I talk about all the time in training, that you don't give up defense for offense. He does all the time, and he gets away with it sometimes. And when he don't, his chin was there to survive him. But this time it wasn't. He never saw the punch coming. He drops his hand. He exposes himself. He opens himself up every time he throws something. He drops for the uppercut. He drops his hand to throw the hook. He throws it wide in front. He leaves himself naked when he goes to throw punches. And I was saying during the fight, if I'm watching it, I'm saying to myself, I made a note, if Leo would just punch with him, he's going to catch him, because he opens up the window for stuff to come in. Not bees, not mosquitoes, punches to just come in the open window. And if you don't want stuff to come in the window, you either have a screen on it or you open it a little bit. He opens it a lot. So I was saying, when is he going to get caught? And the fight, like you described, close fight, going down the stretch, the 7th, 8th, 9th round. I think it was the 9th round, right? That was the final round.
10th.
10th round. Going down the stretch. Leo's, again, his form, he could use the jab a little better, but both of them falling in, both of them, pushing in the envelope in their own moments, trying to be aggressive, trying to steal the action, trying to be the boss. And then a technical flaw again betrays the champion Lopez. Now, a beautiful, explosive, picture-perfect left hook exploded on the chin of Lopez. The timing, no hesitation, came out pure. Bang, just pure, no hitch, no warning, just pure, explosive, right there, bang. But Lopez, it's not always about the power. He caught him, he didn't see, it was a beautiful hook, powerful hook. But it's more about, I always talk about the delivery, the timing, and it was about, in this case, Lopez's bad habits, his technical flaws that really came back to not only bite him, but to remove his title. Where Lopez just finished throwing a jab, a slow jab, which you shouldn't do in front of your opponent, a slow jab, but more importantly, he did what I always say, the old sayings. Pick your saying, Ken. He posed after he punched. He took a picture after he punched. He waited for the receipt after he punched. Whatever you want to call it. He did all of them. All of them. He throws the jab. He stands there. He poses. And the left hook comes. He never sees it. And the way it came, the trajectory of it, it came in a way where his own gloves, his own hands and kind of blocked the view, and his eyesight, his eyes were fixed on the target. They weren't fixed on the whole body of Leo, just the target of where the jab was going. So the left hook is so dangerous in that situation because it's coming from the angle. It's coming from around the bend. It's coming from where you don't see it. And it came out fast, explosive, just a perfect left hook. And it knocked him out. And it also gave, quite frankly, the commentator a chance. I know that you'll love this, but it gave the commentator, the blow-by-blow guy, a chance to practice for his new job, WWE. To get a little practice in. Because I know that you're going to, it's an explosive moment, I get it. And it's a sudden, sensational moment. But let it breathe a little bit after you initially, let it breathe a little bit. Not at all. Not at all. Hey, look, and at the end of the day, when the cameras went, I don't know if he told them to put the cameras because they had never seen this before. It's a habit I've seen. It's a practice I've seen in the UFC. The great John Annis, all the great that do that, Rogan, DC, all of them. When there's a incredible moment or knockout in UFC, the camera goes on them and they react like unbelievable. Like, and, it's some we just kind of like Bruce Buffer's call. We got used to expecting that, the energy with that. I think we've gotten used to looking when it's one of those sensational moments in the UFC. We've gotten used to looking for their reaction in that way. And I can't help it. It looked like it was copied. It looked like
It definitely seemed very inauthentic.
Yeah, it looked
and almost scripted. Next time there's a knockout, watch what I do.
It looked like the cameramen were teed up to camera. I never saw them go in boxing to the commentators reacting. I never did. Maybe I missed it in the past, but I've seen a lot of fights, and just it seemed like it was a copy from the blow-by-blow guy of what he had seen Anik do, or any of the 3 or 4, whichever ones are in there at the time, with the, obviously with the UFC. But at the end of the day, sensational. Who knows where the judging would have went, but we didn't have to get to that. Didn't have to worry. That really was the case of not going to the judges. Take care of it right here. And he did it in front of his home crowd, Leo did. So it was a fantastic moment for him, where, he like I said, his technique was a little better. He exposed himself less than Lopez had been exposing himself during the fight. And he finally paid... he paid the big price. He paid the ultimate price for technically being flawed in those areas, and that's why I say it's not just about the power. It's about the and to the credit of Chris Algieri, who I guess was filling in for Tim Bradley and did a great job, just like Bradley does. But he did a great job filling in for him. He said it right. I've said it. I've always said this, and I always continue to say it. It comes down to the technique. The technique connects the dots from victory and defeat. The technique, quite often. And we saw it with Anderson, the heavyweight, a week ago. Very athletic, but depends on his athleticism so much that they never develop certain technical aspects of the sport. And you saw him pay a price, Anderson. Showed a lot of heart, but you saw him lose his undefeated record because they had not developed his technique. They depended just on his athleticism. You can always connect the dots, usually, quite often, from between victory and defeat by looking at technique. And it was never more evident than it was. And like I said, Algieri brought that out. He said, look at the technique. And 100%. So it was, I don't know if we got it. I asked Rob to put it up there. But if we can show our fans who haven't been able to see it, it's got to be the front runner right now for knockout of the year. Hopefully Rob's going to get it up there.
I'm sure he'll put it in.
Yeah, and again, just look at what I just described. How, it's the power, but it's also Lopez, being a, helping in his own, in his own demise. A co-conspirator to his own demise. And that's what Lopez was, by standing there and basically waiting for the hook to come. Obviously not purposely saying I'm going to wait for a hook to come, but standing there, not having the habit that should be developed in the gym of moving when you're finished punching. Moving, not standing there. Because, quite frankly, I always joke with my fighters when I'm teaching them this, and I say to them, listen, the other guy has a terrible habit, and I wish he didn't, but he has a terrible habit of punching back after you punch. So you might want to develop this habit I'm teaching you here of actually moving after your last punch. So anyway, that takes care of that. And what are we on? So far, so good. I'm like so far, so good, I think. Kind of like that old joke with the guy who jumped off the top of the Empire State Building, and he's on his way down. And as he's going down, he's passing the 50th floor, and he looks in the window at all the people looking at him, and he says to them, "How am I doing?" And they say, "So far, so good." So with our fans, I never know. With our fans, which I'm blessed to have, but I never know. You know, so far, so good. But you never know if you're going to go splat at the bottom or if the fans are going to say, yeah, let me get an elevator and go to the top floor and watch that thing all over again.
Well, there was, as you were just describing, the technique wasn't there. Maybe one guy had technically better, but ultimately that doesn't determine who wins. I was thinking about you last weekend when the men's 1500 at the Olympics was going off. There were two huge favorites, Jacob Ingebrigtsen and Josh from Norway and Josh Kerr from Canada. And there was an American in the race called Cole Hocker who was like, his time was like a few seconds slower than basically everyone in the race. He wasn't really considered to be a factor for the medals, but he's good, but not like the other two. And the other two are like always trash talking each other. Very the Norwegian Ingebrigtsen is very outspoken, real handsome, like the Justin Bieber of track. And they come into the race, coming into the final lap, coming off the last turn. Hawker's right in third position. There's a small group. Ingebrigtsen had taken the pace out super aggressive and hard and extended himself, as it come to find out, in error. And they're coming down, as they come out of the last turn, Ingebrigtsen is like, Hawker's trying to get in and puts a hand on him as he's trying to come through the rail, and Ingebrigtsen has him cut off. But then out of the corner of his eye, I think he sees Kerr, and he just gives a little bit, like creates a small opening, and Hawker screams down the rail, and these two get into a battle with each other, Kerr and Ingebrigtsen, worried about each other, and Cole Hawker wins the Olympic gold medal in like a 2-3 second personal best for that distance. And all I could think about was you saying, speed, timing will beat speed, and all of the intangibles that a winner has that you have to win versus just pure talent. And it was an awesome example. It was one of the highlights of the Olympic for track and field people to see this kid who, by all accounts, probably shouldn't have been the gold medalist, to beat these guys. And the way he did it was just, gave me goosebumps watching it. But I was thinking of you and just how fighting can be related to so many different sports, especially track and field. But let's get into the main event.
You know what I say off of that, Ken? As you're describing it, I always think in my head at such times of an example in my business of somebody who exemplifies what you're talking about. And the first person that came to my mind, and he's not the best in every area. He's not the greatest puncher, the fastest guy, the most, perfect in any one area, or scintillating in one area, but he's solid in all areas. But he's got that trait that you're talking about, and you had this confidence. You told this story for that reason, to have the capacity, to have the instincts, to have the ability to find a way to win. And the first guy comes to my mind is Usyk. First guy. That's his greatest trait. Yeah, he's good at this and go, but he's not great in one area, greatest. But when you put it the sum of all his parts, you put it together, he's great in a way that his greatest asset is what you just talked about, that he finds a way to win. So, go on, my man.
Yeah, awesome Olympics all around. record-setting games for the U.S., awesome events in track and field, swimming. I loved it all. Let's talk main event. Vergil Ortiz against Bohachuk. Man, what a fight. And I'll turn it over to you because I know everyone's going to want to hear your thoughts on Vergil Ortiz. But, man, the toughness that he showed, it seemed like he could have hit Bohachuk with a hammer. He wasn't going to go away. And very quickly you come to the realization like, oh, my God, I'm going to be in for 12 rounds of this. And there were so many instances where Ortiz just opened up on him and was just hitting him with lefts, rights. And you know it's taking a toll. And then he'd recover and you think, man, how's he going to keep this pace going? And he just kept coming back. And Bohachuk, good Lord, he took shots and then hit back. He had the tightest defense. I kept thinking man, Ortiz can't get a shot in on him. I mean, obviously he was getting some shots, but you saw the aftermath. Vergil Ortiz's face was a mess, and Bohachuk was not nearly as messed up, but incredible fight. Comeback, like you said, 2 times on the deck. Arguable if there were knockdowns, but I'll let you discuss that. And awesome fight. And Vergil Ortiz, if nothing else, went 12 incredibly hard rounds, got knocked down, come back and got the win. Dying to hear what you thought about the result as well. Take it away.
Yeah, well, first of all, you can't always connect or attach the way a guy looks facially after a fight, a tough fight, with how he did or didn't do compared to the other guy who looks better. Because it's got a lot to do with features that you have no control over. Whether you moved your head or not, there's certain guys more prone to bruising, because of high cheekbones, because a lot of different variables and a lot of different just inherited traits where, like I said, it could be their bone structure in their face that they boned or their templates in their blood that they bruise quicker. There's so many different facets of it that contribute to that. But where you see a guy looks all beat up, and it does, again, it's not indicative that he took more punishment than he dished out. It's just that he wore it. He didn't wear it as well. His face didn't wear it.
I guess my point was that he got hit some shots. They
both did. But no, he did.
Bohachuk played such tight D, but when he opened up, he was landing with some meaningful shots. I was shocked at how strong Bohachuk was. I did not expect that performance.
And how resilient,
incredible drama.
Yeah, how resilient, tough. And look, Ortiz showed toughness too, but how resilient.
Oh, yeah.
But Ortiz has more physical talent, more athleticism, more explosive talent. Bohachuk's greatest talent is being steady, technically solid, but one-dimensional, it's all night long. But one of the quiet traits that is so important, I talk about all the time, that it's not just about the neon talents, like that we all can judge and have a metric for so easily, like speed and power, explosiveness, all that. But it's about the quiet talents that get overlooked sometimes, but are very important, sometimes more important than the other talents. Talent like being dependable, being consistent, being reliable. Bohachuk showed all of those talents where round to round, he's the same. He's reliable. He's a machine. He's like an android. He's like the guy from Rocky. What was it? Rocky 4, the Russian guy that Drago. He I don't know what Rocky it was. 1, 4, 20. I don't know.
That's a good. I didn't think of that, but that's a good comparison.
He represented himself like that. He looked like that. And his physical demeanor, his physical presence, his approach, where, again, his greatest asset is not speed. It's not even power. He's not as explosive as Ortiz, even though he's got all those knockouts. But it's in his approach. It's in his attitude. It's in his character. It's in his ability to not waver, to get hit and come back and find a way to rejuvenate himself and come back. He's got a motor that never stops, that is ongoing all the time. It's like he's got a fuel pump in his corner to keep gassing him that we don't even see. So he never runs out. But his shortcomings is he is one-dimensional. He does come the same way, but he makes it work. He looks to weigh you down. He looks to break your will. And that's where Ortiz needs credit. Because a lot of guys that were as talented as Ortiz that hadn't yet been tested in those areas might have gotten broken down. But Ortiz deserves credit for coming up aces in that area that we always wonder about, that area that we always want answered, where he didn't break down, where the pressure didn't make him evaporate like a puddle I talk about on a July hot summer day where it disappears from the sun. It evaporates in front of you. He didn't evaporate. That is what you need to go with all the other talents if you're going to be a champion, a real champion, and have any kind of shelf life in this business or in any business. You need the full package, the mental package to go with the physical. So at the end of the day, he showed he has that, Ortiz, and he got tested. We didn't know until he was tested. He got tested to show that he had that. And where Bohachuk comes up short is he'll come in straight, doesn't move his head enough. He'll come in straight, behind the jab. Like I said, technically pretty solid, buttoned up, covered up, really, really like airtight, waterproof, where he covers up real well. But you're going to catch him. You have to catch him when he's throwing. You got to time at the row or put them together, split the middle. Ortiz was able to do that, or punch behind the gloves sometimes. And Ortiz was able to do that enough. But really close. I'm going to get into that part because I know that's what the fans want to hear about. Did he win? Did Ortiz win? Because it was that close. It was that close. And you could argue either way. You really could, legitimately. I'll finish with the technical part about Bohachuk. By coming in straight, you can depend on him to be there with his head straight up. The gloves are there, but if you time it right, you can catch him as he throws. And that's what you got to do, or behind the glove, or put him together when he's covered up, when he's handcuffed a little bit, and put them together, move them around, create the opening. And to Ortiz's credit, he showed the ability and the cerebralness, the smarts to do that. So I give him credit for that. Bohachuk, all night, he was the ocean, the tide, just kept coming. Ortiz, when he did something, it was a little more explosive. It was more damaging. His hands were faster. That stood out to me. He was more dimensional. He showed a dimension that we hadn't really seen. And you need that. If you only depend on power, pressure, explosiveness, you're going to run into a jam one day where that doesn't work. What else do you got? And that kind of happened Saturday night where that wasn't enough. So he showed another dimension. He could box a little bit. He could use his legs. He could jab. Ortiz took it outside. He hadn't really had to do that. He took it outside. He moved. He boxed. And by doing that, he gave himself an edge in some rounds where Bohachuk wasn't ready for the boxing, where Bohachuk came up a little short, where he won some of those rounds and separated himself a little bit with the boxing, with the outside fighting, instead of just the phone booth fighting. Again, when he did that, he gave himself a little reprieve from the pressure, but he showed a dimension that he needs to beat other fighters, that his pressure game and power game ain't always going to be enough. He showed that. He went to that. And him and Robert Garcia, they deserve credit for being able to go to that and pull that out of the hat at the right time, especially late in the fight. It was one of the differences in the fight that he had that dimension that Bohachuk did not have. I think the key to this fight is the ref. I tear refs apart sometimes, but I build them up and pat them on the back when they do the right thing. This referee, I'm coming short on his name. What's his name? I know him. I know him when he started. I know him when he was a kid. He did not only a good job of not interfering and regulating the fight the way a referee should regulate a fight, but
Harvey Dock.
Yeah, Harvey Dock. Harvey Dock deserves a bonus because I think he was really a key to this fight in a way. In the first round, there was a knockdown where the right hand over the jab, the right hand of Bohachuk landed behind the ear of Ortiz over his jab. He timed him. And it dropped him. He got right up. It was hard to decipher initially. It happened so quick. So Harvey Dock didn't call it a knockdown. When I saw the replay, I said, oh, they missed it. That was a knockdown. And then Harvey Dock went over to the commission and the mic was open, thank God. Thank God that the world could hear it. It changed the course of the fight in this way, or what we would have thought of the scoring, what the information we would not have had to have not really understood what we can understand now because of Harvey Dock. He was honest enough to basically admit he may have missed the knockdown. So he went to the commission for the world to hear on the mic. And he said, do you want to look at the video? You want to look at the videotape to make sure that wasn't a knockdown. And the commission, I thought it was appalling, said no. And right away I made a note. I was ready to rip them apart, rip them a new you-know-what. I was ready to destroy them. I said, how could they not say, yes, you got video for a reason. We never used to have video replay in any of the sports. Boxing was the last one to finally come up to, catch up a little bit. But to not use it when you have it in a case like this is the exact case of why you would use it, why you would have it, to see whether or not, because that could change the course of the scoring of the fight. So they said no. Right away, I'm cynical. But I'm also realistic. I'm in boxing. I have a right to be cynical with the crap I've seen. What I do understand in boxing and learning that 1 and 1 does equal 2 in boxing. And right away I said, would they have said no if that was Bohachuk, not the house fighter that got dropped?
That's a good point.
Would they? I doubt they. Maybe they would have. But I have my doubts. And they didn't. And then they corrected themselves in the 5th. But it took 5 rounds to correct themselves. And this is my theory. The main thing is they correct themselves. I understand. But if that wasn't on live tape, if that mic wasn't live for the world to hear, and I wonder if it's going to be live next time. I wonder if it's going to be turned off in the future when other commissions see what they saw here and how it was out there to expose what it exposed. I wonder. I hope it's always live. I hope it is, because it's important that it is. But I wonder, Ken, and I wonder, audience, that if that was not live and for the world to hear, would the commission have come back in the 5th round and changed it? Because they knew that everyone saw it now. Everybody heard it. And they said, no, we don't need to go. And everyone's going to ask the question I asked. Why not? It could change the trajectory of the fight. Why would you not look at it again? Unless you were favoring the house fighter. The undefeated, all knockout next superstar potentially, unless you were protecting him. I have no doubt that going into that fight, the powers that be want him to win, want to protect him.
Oh, no question.
And influence their influence in any way they can, to use their influence any way they can to protect him. Now, having said that, I think it's fair. I don't give a damn if you're mad for me saying it. A lot of people won't say it because they want to go along to get along. They want access. They want friendship. I don't care. I care about what I saw and what I believe to be true. And hopefully the fans come here for that. Even if you disagree with me, that you come, that you're going to at least know you're going to get a fair shot at being told what should be told, what I think should be told. At the end of the day, I give all credit. I take nothing away from Ortiz. He fought like a champion. He was more explosive in spots. I thought that his hands were faster. I thought that that close rounds, there was a lot of close rounds. A lot of real close rounds. I thought he stole some close rounds at the end of rounds by being a little more explosive, a little go early in the round, by shaking Bohachuk a little bit and being explosive enough to do that, to steal a close round where his punch was a little bit more effective. Because it does come down to who lands the cleaner, more effective punches. It does come down. That is the criterion that it's supposed to come down to, or the main one. I thought he checked that box. And I thought that he had the edge. And that gave him an edge. But there's no getting around, you fans. I know what you're thinking. There's no getting around. He got dropped twice. Those are potentially 2 10-8 rounds. Here's what I want to put out there. From my experience, from my eye. Down the middle. No horse in the race. Where the first one, and thankfully it was caught. It was corrected. The first one, 10-8. 10-8. The second one in the 8th. Not so fast, my friends. Because he got dropped with the left hook early. Real knockdown. Got dropped. But he got right up. He wasn't tremendously affected. He wasn't tilting one way to the other way, falling around. It wasn't that kind of knockdown. It wasn't that kind of effect. It was a knockdown, but not devastating. He got right up. But here's the thing. He dominated the round, he being Ortiz. From that point on, he knew the fire alarm went off. He knew it was an emergency. He knew that was the second knockdown of the fight. He knew what he had to do. He knew he had to behave like a fighter, like a champion. And he did. He dominated the rest of the round. Bohachuk showed all the heart, everything of a champion, came back at the end of the round. But he dominated that round, Ortiz. For me, you have the ability. You're not locked into 10-8. You have the ability, when that happens, to do one of two things. Make it a 10-9 round. Whatever the official way of doing it, I don't care. Make it a 1-point round instead of a 2-point round. Or make it an even round. There is precedent for this. And I've been there. When Mora fought Holyfield in the second round, Mora got dropped. He got up. He got right up. He got up. He wasn't, damaged badly, but he got dropped. But he came back the rest of the round and dominated that round, won that round, had a good round, real good, other than that. And one judge, because of that, made it an even round, which of course I thought was right because it benefited me. But I thought it was right anyway. I think it's right now. You have the ability to do that. And he used his judgment, the judge, I should say. And he said, Okay, I'm going to make it 10-8. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to make it 10-10. I guess it was 10-10. I'm not going to make it 10-8. And that was the difference. Mora doesn't win the title, the heavyweight title. Without that, it's a draw. And the draw goes to the champion, Holyfield. So I felt the same way. I felt the same. A lot of close rounds. Real close. I made it a 10-9. I made it a 1-point round in the 8th. Very important round. I made it a 10-9. I didn't make it even. I thought I could have made it even, but I didn't. I made it 10-9 for Bohachuk, not 10-8. All the judges had it 10-8. Fine, that's fair. I think the judges did a good job, pretty good job. I disagree with the 113-113. I'm there. But the 114-112, 1 point too much for Ortiz. It was that close. It was that close. And that's why people are saying it's a robbery. And the 2 knockdown. But the main thing for me, the turning point of the fight might have been the 9th round. The 9th round, which I gave, really intense close round. I gave it to Bohachuk. 2 of the judges gave it to Ortiz. I gave it to Bohachuk. Really close. Could have been an even round. Could have went to Ortiz. That put Bohachuk on points, was ahead. Behind on rounds at the end, I thought, but ahead on points. At the end of the day, I thought that, and I'm being a little redundant, but I want to make sure I'm clear. I thought that he did a little more Ortiz in those close rounds, a little more explosive, a little faster. His adjustment on the outside to give him a reprieve from the pressure, to give a look to Bohachuk that bothered him a little bit, threw him off rhythm a little, took him a while to get back to gear, did the trick for Ortiz by showing that other dimension. Did what him and his great trainer, Robert Garcia, wanted it to do. Mix things up. Threw a little bit of a fly in the ointment for a moment. I'm going to show my scorecard, and I'm going to put it up here long enough for you guys to even read the notes if you so desire. My final score was 114-113 Ortiz. I have no problem 113-113. I just said it. If I don't have it 10-9, if I have it 10-8, which the 3 judges had it in the 8th round, I got 113-113. That's what I have. That's what I have. I did not agree with the 114s, 112s, I think it was. I didn't agree with those, with those judges. And I'll repeat myself. Yeah, I have no doubt with the prevailing feelings out there that they tried to put the fix in, or that you feel like the fix was in as fans for the favorite, for the house fighter, for the guy that's got 21-0 going in, 21 knockouts. I do not argue with you to have that feeling at all. But at the end of the day, I thought when the hood was lifted in the car, in this Ferrari of Ortiz, that yeah, there was the right engine there. It was the right engine. And yeah, the driver was the right driver. That he did pull it out. He did pull it out. Look, I would have been happy with a draw. Of course, then Bohachuk stays the champ. Not everyone would have been happy on the Ortiz side. I get it. I would have been happy with that and an immediate rematch. I would have been happy with that. But I have no problem. I have no problem, as you can see, with 114, 113 in my card, not 114, 112. I have no problem with 113, 113. And if you want to take me to task, which I know you guys always do, and that's fine, that's why I'm here. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't prepared for that. You got to lock yourself up. If you don't want to get criticism, you don't want to be open to being second guess, you shouldn't be doing what I do, and I've done my life. You shouldn't do it on a public forum, a public platform. You shouldn't then. But if you do, you got to be ready for it. And and I'm not contradicting myself here. But if you wanted to tell me you had it 1 point for Bohachuk, I wouldn't have argued that either. I just didn't think that. But I wouldn't have argued it at all. At all. I would have said, my God, what a great fight. This guy earned it. This guy earned keeping his title. I'd like to see it again. But this guy earned keeping his title. I have no problem. But for me, I looked at everything that I think are the things you have to look at. I mean, I even made notes. Second round, good body shot by Ortiz, and he mixed in boxing nicely. Third round, cleaner shots and more numbers of punches by Ortiz. Fourth round, good round for Bohachuk. Good round for Bohachuk. I give it to him. Fifth round, pulled it out with a right hand to close the round. Ortiz pulled it out. Close. Sixth round, it goes to Ortiz, 10-9. Stole the round late. Seventh round, 10-9, Bohachuk. Eighth round, the knockdown round for Bohachuk. I explained why he made it 10-9, not 10-8. Ninth round, 10-9, another round, 2 in a row for Bohachuk. I thought that was the turning point for me. That was the turning point. That real close round, I gave it to Bohachuk, 10-9. To me, that is the turning point for it to be this close. Close round, could have been an even round. I give it to Bohachuk. 10th round, 10-9. Ortiz, he boxed on the outside. It bothered Bohachuk. Took him a little while, to set his gears, to reset his gears. 11th round, great round. Big left hook by Ortiz, and Bohachuk comes back late. But I thought it was Ortiz that got it. 12th and final round, deciding round. 10-9. Ortiz, great finish. Ortiz hurt him a little bit to the body in the 12th. And that's it. Just to, just to make sure I put a ribbon on it. If I had made the 8th round 10-8, which a lot of you guys probably think I should have, Bohachuk, then the score would be 113-113, a draw. Bohachuk would still be the champion, but that's not the case. I give all credit again to the fighters. Both of them showed the medal of champions, the makeup of champions, the intangibles of champions. And I salute Harvey Dock for being a referee he is, an honest man. He looked at his mistake right there. He looked it in the eye. And he said to the commission, you want to check that? I didn't call it, but you want to check it to make sure it's not a knockdown? And the commission says no. How do you say no? Yeah, they came back. Did they come back because they knew they would be cooked? They would be barbecued. They would be put on a spit and just lambasted over a hot flame if they had not changed it after the world heard. If that mic wasn't live, I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. Maybe not. But I gotta wonder, knowing boxing, knowing the people that run boxing, the executives of boxing that screw up so often, knowing that it took them 5 rounds to say they got it wrong, I don't know. But I do know it was a hell of a fight. I do know that just like Crawford the week before in L.A., where people will say Crawford is more beatable now than they thought he was, which I don't think he is. I thought, if anything, he showed me his greatness. He was controlled and smart with a bigger guy when he had to be. So I'm not one. But for those who thought, okay, Crawford, showed a little humanness, that, he's not Superman, if so to speak. A lot of people feel the same way Sunday morning after this fight, Ken, with Ortiz. Oh, I'll take him on. He's not quite, and you know what? Be careful you don't get what you ask for, because the kid will be a better fighter from this. He will be a better fighter, and he showed me the most important part, the part that there is not the metric that there is for power to gauge. The part that is intestinal. The part that, is either exists or don't exist inside of you. The part that gives you the right to be able to say, I'm a champion. The part that's willing to find a way even when things aren't going your way. He showed that part. And he didn't disappear. He didn't evaporate under a hot sun with all the pressure coming from Bohachuk, who was tremendous. Tremendous. I think he fought for himself. I thought he fought for his country. Ukraine, I thought he fought for everything. And I'd love to see a rematch. Everyone's talking about the next fight for Ortiz. Is it going to be Crawford? Is it going to be Fedora? Is it going to be, is it going to be, I can't think of all the other names of guys likely, the likely candidates for all of that. But the one I'd like to see before that would be the rematch with Bohachuk. Or at least put Bohachuk in the on-deck circle, in the holding pattern, where whoever Ortiz fights and defends his title against, that Bohachuk gets the winner. That would be good. That would make sense. That would be healthy for the sport. And of course, I'd love to see Ortiz and Crawford. Right now, off of that, I know it's early. I know it's completely, just very early, that we don't know if the fight will be made. But right now, they had talked about, I'd favor Crawford. I would favor Crawford. And again, I'd give it all the accolades to Ortiz. This young kid, he had never been out in the bad weather like this. And he had never, we didn't know if he would have an umbrella when the hail and the rain and the hurricane and everything came. We didn't know if he would have that. And he had it. So, terrific fight. Another thing I liked about Ortiz, his signature punch, his Sunday punch, it couldn't be, he still went to the body well with both hands, but it couldn't, it didn't have the it didn't have to, a plane needs, it needs a strip. It needs the runway to take off and to land. That left hook, that signature punch of Ortiz that has crippled so many people, it didn't have the runway to take off because Bohachuk took it away. He did a great job of covering up with the elbows. He did it and smothering them sometimes. He did a great job. Great job. Him in his corner. They deserve credit. Not only Robert Garcia. Yeah, they deserve great credit. And both guys in great shape too. And mentally and physically. But when the runway was shut down, the pilot, in this case Ortiz, he's the pilot. The pilot found something else. Okay, I'll find another runway. I'll find another place to take off. And he did. He found the right hand. And it made sense because he took advantage of Bohachuk's strength, that he comes in technically strong. Conventional, one way, but conventional, buttoned up in a very proper boxing way. He comes in behind the jab. So what's a better way to take away someone's jab, which is a key weapon of Bohachuk, to take that away? What's a better thing to do than to counter with the right hand over it? And that's what he did. He countered with the right hand over it. And he used his uppercut. Bohachuk used his uppercut. And Ortiz didn't seem to adjust enough in spots to get away from that punch sometimes. He's going to have to work on that. But nobody knew that he had to work on that because nobody was around before to throw the uppercut at him, Ken, because they were gone.
Yep.
They were knocked out. So we found out that Ortiz does have you can defensively get to him with certain things, and with that punch in particular, because of the resilience of Bohachuk, that he was there to throw that punch late in the fight and medium of the fight and through the fight. But when Ortiz, again, the runway got shut down, he went and found another field, another place to take off. He went, and give him credit for that. He went to the right hand over the jab of Bohachuk, which was very, very important. So he showed the ability to adapt. He has showed the ability that you fans always say, does he have a plan B? Does he have a plan C, Teddy? Does he have that? Yeah, he does. Yeah, apparently he does. Apparently he never had to before, but he showed. Look, I know a lot of people you're never going to be happy, but I did my best to be fair down the middle and bring you. And a lot of times, I got a little bit of a brain. A lot of times I know coming on what you want to hear and what it would be easier to say, to not get criticized, to say. But I ain't signing that contract. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not, because at the end of the day, there's one person you got to answer to. That person is the person you look in the mirror at. You got to answer to that person. So, good fight. Really, good job by, again, Harvey Doc. I salute you. I thank you for your honesty, your professionalism, your character. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you. Because otherwise we'd be sitting here never talking about there was two. We'd say, they missed it, but that would be the end of it. It wouldn't have been on the scorecards.
Yep. Well, that's as thorough a breakdown as you're going to get anywhere on a Monday after the fights. Let's talk about the fight coming up this weekend, Christian Mbilli versus Sergiy Derevyanchenko. And I was looking at Derevyanchenko's record, and he's been in with some killers. I mean, he's got 5 losses, all to, big names. But big test, I think, for Mbilli stepping up against Derevyanchenko, who I guess you could kind of put a label as a gatekeeper at this point. He's faced all the top guys, come up short, like I said, a number of times. But I know you like Mbilli a lot. What are you looking for in this one?
Yeah, Derevyanchenko and Mbilli, I say it's a must-see fight because of their styles, because of their makeup, I can't see this fight being nothing but action-packed. And
yeah, I agree.
the question for me here, I agree with you. Christian Mbilli could really be tested. He got tested a little bit in a fight they didn't expect a couple fights back, and he struggled. But I love him. He's an action guy. He's physically strong. He comes at you. He brings both barrels, from the beginning to the end. He comes at you. We found out that, hey, there could be some shortcomings to that style. Pit Cruz showed that against Valenzuela. Give Valenzuela credit. He showed that action guy that we love, that keeps coming from the beginning to the end, never stops pushing down the gas pedal, always on you. He showed that you can also handle that if you got the right stuff, if you're ready to handle it, if you're the right guy to handle it. You can also take advantage of some of that relentlessness, some of that, predictability, some of that nonstop offense. But you got to be ready. For me, here's the question of this fight for my bookie. If you're going to look at my bookie for this, the only question.
Yeah, I was going to give you the lines, by the way, for the people who want to bet. For MyBookie, go to mybookie.ag and use the promo code ATLAS for 50% credit on your first deposit. Like I said earlier, Mbilli is a huge favorite in this fight, but I think that I'm dying to hear what you think here. Mbilli is a minus 450 favorite. Derevyanchenko is plus 300.
All right, I'll start right here.
Give it
you ready?
to him.
You ready, Ken?
Yep.
Give me the plus 300. I'm taking it. Here's the gamble.
I agree.
It's always a gamble. It's gambling. If it's gambling, it's always a gamble, right? Captain Obvious over here. There's a gambling. It's a gamble. Okay. Thank you, Teddy, for that. Very, very, very incredible observation. All right. I think we could have figured that out ourselves. He's 38 years old. He's been in a lot of tough fights. He hasn't won at the top level. I thought he might have beat Triple G. I love Triple G. He might have beat him. But
agreed.
Triple G shows so much heart. I don't think he was right that night. I thought he was a little off maybe. I don't know if he was battling being sick. But great fight. Take nothing away from Derevyanchenko in that fight. Really, really close. He could have won that. But Triple G really won it with his championship heart, his pedigree, and he got the fight. But it was close. And I don't care what the judges, if they didn't say majority, if they didn't say split, if they said, I don't care. I know what it was. But that was a couple years ago already. He's 38 years old, Derevyanchenko. Here's what it comes down to for Teddy Atlas. What does he have left? I don't know. Is he shot worn a little bit? Probably. How much? Because if it's not to a degree that really shows, he will test Mbilli again, like he got tested a few fights ago, but even greater. Because Derevyanchenko is a better fighter than the one who tested him. Mbilli, I think it was a fight or two ago. A couple fights ago. He is better than that. He is more talented than it. Derevyanchenko, not a huge puncher, but he don't stop punching. He's a punching machine. Mbilli's a punching machine. That's why I say you got to watch this. That's why I wanted to preview this for you guys, in case it wasn't on your radar. It should be a barn burner. It should be. Who knows? Yep. You never know. But sometimes you think they're going to be. They don't turn out to be. Same thing with Super Bowls. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. It turns out to be a dud. You don't know. But from all the evidence we have, I think that this is a fight you want to have a seat in front of your TV and be there. It's coming from Quebec City in Canada. It's a home game for Mbilli. I'm going to take this shot that he's not shot, Derevyanchenko, that he's not shot. I'm going to take this shot that he's not used up. He's got enough left to survive what Mbilli's going to throw at him, and he's going to throw a lot at him. He's going to, yes, that's Teddy Atlas's fax machine. Yeah. If you have any doubt that Teddy Atlas is a caveman, besides whatever else you think I am, that would be the nicer one. Remove that doubt. Yeah, I got a fax, and it works good. It works good. And the next email I get, by the way, folks, will be the last email. No, the next email I get will be the first email I ever got, because I never got an email, and I don't know that I'm ever gonna at this point in my life. But I digress, as my man Ken would say. I digress, and I'm going with give me the odds. Give me the odds. I'm gonna fool around a little bit, just a little bit. Give me the, even though I love Mbilli. I think he's good for the sport. He's healthy for the sport, for the division, for everything, the way he goes about his business. The one last thing. Last week, I had touted two Irish brothers over in Ireland, Stevie McKenna and his brother. Two brothers undefeated. They're coming out of Ireland. I think they're worth watching. They're exciting. They're just starting to step up to, their competition now. But Stevie McKenna, Keith Sullivan, no, not Keith Sullivan, I'm sorry. Jimmy McMahon, my former fighter. Great guy, just a great guy. He's doing great with building and business in New York and in Ireland, where he was born. He's doing tremendous. He was a fighter of mine, just tremendous character. I retired him when he was 13-0 for a health reason. We weren't sure, so I didn't want to take a chance. His life was more important than having a boxing career. As good as it was, he was undefeated. His life was more important, and we couldn't be sure of whether or not it would, health-wise, it would make sense to continue in this business of, getting hit with punches, obviously. So he's got a beautiful family. It was the right decision. He's done great in his business. Why wouldn't he do great in his business? You have character. You know what? You have a will. You have character. You have opportunity. How could you not do great? And his boxing experience helped him be the man he is, and the businessman and the builder and everything else he is. But anyway, he knows boxing. He told me the other day, he said that Stevie McKenna, again, one of the brothers, the McKenna brothers that I had touted on this air just to keep an eye out for. Two kids coming out of Ireland, being built up. McKenna's record is now 15-0 with 14 knockouts. He had a fight over the weekend. And from what Jimmy tells me, and I took a peek of it. I did take a peek. I'm not going to talk about it if I didn't look at it. But what all the fans over there and what Jimmy initially told me was some people were talking about it being a fight of the year. It only went 3 rounds. But it was that kind of action. But hey, look, Hagler, I'm not comparing the two guys, but Hagler and Hearns only went 3 rounds, and some people think it was the greatest fight of all time or one of the greatest. So, 3 rounds. Stevie McKenna fought Joe Laws. They both dropped each other in the first round. They were both on the floor in the first round, Ken. And then it went 3 hellacious rounds. And in the third round, McKenna stayed undefeated to knock out a really, really, really talented and game Joe Laws, who I believe his record is now 14-2. And again, he's one of the 2 brothers I was talking about last week. So I just wanted to, give that news report for any people that are following that stuff and want all the news they can get. We try to give it to you. We miss out on some of it. There's no doubt. But we try to give you everything we can. And can I do one other thing? No, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. I'm something to look forward to. All right? Besides the handsome face of Ken. Something to look forward to next week. I'm going to introduce a new segment. We're not going to be locked in to doing it every week. We'll pick our spots. But a new segment, I'm going to call it the Mailman. The Mailman. Everyone knows, I don't know nothing about the internet. I don't even freaking, I can't even get on it unless somebody says, hey, Teddy, here, look at this. Then I see. Otherwise, I don't see it. And it's good I don't see it. It's good for my health. It's good. It's probably better I don't. Not that I have thin skin, because if you're in this business, you better not have thin skin. But once in a while, I'll look, not too often, I'll look at some of the comments. And I want to respond. Not to all of them. So don't go nuts out there and now give us a deluge. You know, Sam? Don't start raining. Just do what you normally do. Don't change. But I'm gonna give you this new thing called the Mailman, where I'll look at some of the comments once in a while, and I will give you answers to them. I will give you my thoughts about them. If I think you're right, I say you're right. If I thought you were wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. Whatever it is. As long as they're not crazy, stupid, nasty, hateful, that stuff, that goes down the toilet. That's another segment. We don't televise that segment, but we have it quietly, but we don't produce it, we don't show it. But that's called the toilet bowl segment, where we just flush that stuff down the toilet. You and your comments with it. If you are one of those, and unfortunately, you get good and bad out there. And that doesn't mean you're bad if you don't agree with me or Ken. No, not at all. But it's the way. I remember my father told me years ago, he was telling me about this story about a book. And I was probably 10 years old. I still remember a cowboy a real cowboy, tough people, walked into a bar and said, give me a drink. And there was a guy sitting next to him at the bar, and he wasn't a cowboy. And this cowboy was the real deal. The real McCoy, rough, tough, hombre, if you will. Tough guy, worked, and just, no nonsense. He says, give me a drink. And the guy next to him said to him, you went I guess he must have asked for the drink, not realizing he was waiting for the drink, whatever it was. But he called him a son of a bee. He said, you son of a bee. The cowboy turned his attention to him, looked at him, looked right through him probably, but looked at him and said, smile when you say that, partner. Smile when you say that. As my father made sure that I understood the moral of that story. It's not always what you say that matters. It's how you say it. It's how you say it. And to those people out there that needed that story, it's how you say things. So, the Mailman. Next week, Ken, make sure I don't miss the mailbag. I wrote a couple down. I have them written down from 2 weeks ago, and we will go over some of that mail next week. But I wish everybody well. Take us off, Ken. I don't know. I think we covered pretty good.
Yeah, I'll say goodbye. I'll just send you off with a reminder. If you're trying to get your health together and everyone can do better when it comes to their health, please consider adding Athletic Greens to your daily regimen. AthleticGreens.com. Use the promo code ATLAS to get 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. Athletic Greens is the all-in-one green drink that is like a daily insurance policy for your body's health and immunity. Athletic Greens, the one supplement you should never skip. athleticgreens.com/Atlas, and we will see you next week with the mailman segment, and we'll be breaking down the Christian Mbilli versus Derevyanchenko fight, and I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Boom.